Your first statewide campaign, and it seems like, you get to the last 10 or 12 days here and you go, boy, there's not a lot of time left. So this thing is really right around the corner. So let's talk about the next 10, 11 days and how you bring this to a successful conclusion for the Deschene campaign.
We are focusing and making trips out to the basically four corners of the state. I just got done swinging through Cochise County, Gila County, southern parts of Navajo and Apache County. We were over the weekend in Pinal County, and then we're always making sure that we have a strong presence in Tucson and Phoenix.
So many people did not know you. Your first year lawmaker in the House of Representatives, and literally not a very big public figure, at least statewide, until you became a member of the House, and now this statewide campaign. So a lot of people are meeting you for the first time. That must be exciting where people go, boy, I didn't know this about you. I didn't know this guy was an Annapolis graduate. Didn't know you were a 10-year Marine. And so it's really introducing you to the people of Arizona. That's what this campaign's about, isn't it?
It is. It's also about strong leadership and somebody who can do the job well as a Secretary of State, making sure that we have good decision makers, people who can work for the benefit of our state.
It's amazing. You've made this kind of a family effort. So many times that I've seen you, you had your wife and your two boys with you. It was kind of a family effort. How are they adjusting to this kind of new lifestyle on the road here?
It's okay. The boys are doing great. When we travel to and from Phoenix and Tucson, my wife, of course, is very supportive. And the biggest thing I try to do is spend a few minutes with them in the morning before I take off somewhere, and then try to get back to them in the evening so I can tuck them in.
The one thing, you serve in the House of Representatives, you serve in the minority. It was 35 Republicans, 25 Democrats. It has a tendency to be a very partisan experiment and exercise. But you become Secretary of State. You're Secretary of State for all the people of Arizona. A heartbeat away from being governor of the state. It's a whole new responsibility where, you serve, as I mentioned, in the minority. It's a different ballgame here.
Right.
But you have to represent all the people of Arizona when you become Secretary of State, or what is really a lieutenant governor. Let's talk about how you would do that.
Sure. If you look at my experience as a state representative, I've passed laws already that address voting right protections for all Arizonans, and I've got that through a Republican majority that is very hard in most cases for Democrats to get legislation through. I have my own bill, HB 2729, that protects, makes improvements on the voting machines and the recommendations to the Secretary of State. With Senator Hill, my seatmate, we passed a bill that protects voting rights for rural voters throughout the state. And then as a member of the caucus, we built a caucus that educates all members in the House and the Senate. So I have an experience of working together on both sides.
We've watched across this country really voter discrepancies. We all know about the Chads in Florida. We also know about touch screens, voting, and the real question that people have: did my vote really count? Here in Pima County, Pima County's paid literally hundreds of thousands of dollars in a lawsuit being challenged as to whether there was accuracy in the voting on the RTA election. How confident can the people of Arizona be within the voting systems that are implemented on election day in the state of Arizona? How confident are you in these systems?
The Arizona passed and supported the Help America the Vote Act, and that was the first improvement. We went away from the punch card systems, and we looked at what they call the direct recording DRE machines that are electronic. But we have optical scan technology that provides paper ballots. What we now have to make sure is that there's a paper trail that when we audit the ballots that come out are producing the right numbers when we do the audit, so that we can certify that these are not only correct, they're secure, accurate, and reliable.
One of the things I think you talked about throughout this campaign over these many months is transparency in the Secretary of State's office. This office is responsible for at least recording the contributions and who makes those contributions to the politicians of Arizona. And the idea that we can follow the money, I think, is critical to a democracy. How certain will we be, if you're Secretary of State, that we can follow the money?
I think it's absolutely certain that we need to do that. I believe in open transparent offices where the information that is available to the public is not inaccessible, but we are actually capturing the information, say for example the contributions, and that information is readily accessible. So I will be in favor of making sure that is there for the general public.
I think the power of the Secretary of State is one that could inhibit people from registering to vote or open the door. And I think we've seen both in Arizona. It can be a very partisan position.
Yes.
And you've said, look, there's no room for that if you're Secretary of State in Arizona.
Right. I have made a non-endorsement pledge as the Secretary of State because I believe in being objective and guaranteeing our fundamental rights. And so I pledge to not endorse candidates. I don't think Secretary of State should be in the business of endorsing candidates.
This campaign obviously is one in which you have to get through this primary and then take on an unchallenged Republican, Ken Bennett. Why are you the Democrat that can win in what people say is a Republican year, and you have Republican registration somewhat in greater numbers than Democrats, although independents are getting close to those figures? Why are you the Democratic standard bearer that can win in November?
It simply comes down to voter turnout. In 2008, when we learned that new voters, when they come to the polls, Democrats win. So in my case, with my campaign and what I bring to the ticket, new voters are going to come to the polls because of the energy and the excitement. Plus, I do meet all the qualifications. You know, I've got the history of service. I have a proven record. I have a real, the experience of proving real results. But it's going to fundamentally come down to voter turnout. People are going to be excited and energized about my campaign. And when new voters come to the polls, Democrats win.
All right, let's talk about the position really of Secretary of State / Lieutenant Governor. We don't have a Lieutenant Governor in Arizona. The Secretary of State 5 different times has become governor of the state. That's the situation that we find ourselves in now. What qualifies you to be governor of Arizona?
If you look at my service, starting from Annapolis, I've been trained and taught to assume leadership. In the Marines, I picked up leadership and management experience. 10 years I served as an executive officer, running departments, running department heads, and running multi-million-dollar budgets. You coupled that with my training as an attorney engineer and my experience as a state representative with real results, put that all together and you say, yes, I do have the qualifications.
You have some endorsements I think you'd probably like to acknowledge, or I want to acknowledge them.
Sure.
Raul Grijalva, who is the congressional representative in Congressional District 7. You have legislators, senators, and House members. You're pretty pleased at some of these endorsements.
I am. In addition to those that are on our website, Deschene for Arizona, we just recently picked up the support of State Representative Olivia Cajero Bedford, and so she said, "Look, you're the person that I know you will do a great job in this capacity."
Well, we want to talk with you often. Not a lot of the days left, but appreciate you running. Arizona's so much better off because you decided to get into this race. I thank you for making this run. It's been a sacrifice for you and your family over these many months. This is a long, hard battle, isn't it?
Right, and we appreciate the opportunity to meet voters all over the state. We hope that we get to meet a number of folks, and I hope that voters will vote for me.
What's coming up in your campaign we can talk about?
We are actually going to be doing a number of things. We're going to be in Phoenix. Information is listed on our website, as well as my Facebook page, which is connected to my website. We are planning some visits with a number of local organizations, and then we're, again, as I've stated earlier, we're planning to go to each of the corners of the state at least one more time.
Wow, it's been a long run. Chris Deschene, thank you so much for being with us. Congratulations for getting into this race. You certainly won our respect in this campaign. I think you're more than qualified to be a great Secretary of State as well as Governor of the state. Thanks for being with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you, John.
Candidate for Secretary of State in Arizona, Chris Deschene on the John C. Scott Talk Show. Rodney Glassman wants to be a U.S. Senator. He wants to beat U.S. Senator John McCain. Both will be in studio. Mr. Glassman next, and John McCain right behind him at 4:45 today on the John C. Scott Talk Show. All in studio candidate profiles today on this Thursday edition.